Ever replayed that one super awkward moment in your head for the 10th time today? You know, the one from 5 years ago where you called your teacher mom? Or when you tripped in front of your crush? It's like our brains have a special highlight reel just for our most cringeworthy moments. But why? Why do these memories stick like superglue while we can barely remember what we had for breakfast yesterday? Well, science has some fascinating answers, and today, we're diving deep into the psychology behind why you remember embarrassing moments so clearly. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll understand your brain so much better, and maybe even learn how to hit the mute button on that inner critic. So, what's actually happening in our brains during a moment of supreme awkwardness? It all comes down to a powerful cocktail of emotions and brain chemistry. When you do something embarrassing, your brain perceives it as a social threat. This isn't a physical threat, like seeing a bear, but to our socially wired brains, the fear of rejection or judgment is a very big deal. This perceived threat triggers the amygdala, our brain's emotional processing center. The amygdala goes into high alert and screams, "Hey, pay attention, this is important." It flags the experience as significant, essentially putting a giant flashing neon sign on it. This emotional surge is the key. The amygdala works in tandem with another crucial brain region, the hippocampus, which is responsible for forming new memories. Think of the amygdala as the director and the hippocampus as the camera operator. When the director, amygdala, is screaming with emotion, the camera operator, hippocampus, starts recording in high definition. The stronger the emotion, in this case the shame, the surprise, the panic of embarrassment, the more vividly the memory is encoded. This is what scientists call emotionally enhanced memory. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. Our ancestors needed to remember dangerous situations to avoid them in the future. For us modern humans, a social faux pas is the equivalent of a saber-toothed tiger in a boardroom meeting. Your brain wants you to remember that feeling so you don't repeat the mistake and risk being ostracized from the tribe. But it gets even more interesting. There's something called the spotlight effect. This is a cognitive bias where we tend to believe that people are paying way more attention to our actions and appearance than they actually are. When you trip in public, you feel like 1,000 eyes are on you, dissecting your every clumsy move. In reality, most people probably didn't even notice, or if they did, they forgot about it 2 seconds later because they were too busy worrying about their own embarrassing moments. But in your mind, the spotlight is blinding. This overestimation of social scrutiny amplifies the feeling of embarrassment, making the emotional tag on the memory even stronger and stickier. You're not just remembering the event, you're remembering the imagined judgment of an entire audience that likely never existed. So, the memory is formed and it's a strong one. But why does it keep coming back? This is where rumination comes in. Rumination is the act of continuously thinking about the same negative thoughts, which tend to be sad or dark. When you replay an embarrassing moment, you're not just remembering it, you're re-experiencing the emotions associated with it. Each time you do this, you strengthen the neural pathways for that memory. It's like walking the same path in a forest over and over again. Eventually, that path becomes a well-worn trail, easy to stumble upon. Your brain gets really good at accessing that cringeworthy memory because you've practiced it so many times. It becomes a default track your mind plays when it's idle or stressed. Another piece of the puzzle is our self-concept. We all have a story we tell ourselves about who we are. I'm competent. I'm smooth. I'm intelligent. An embarrassing moment directly contradicts that narrative. It creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, a mental discomfort that arises from holding two conflicting beliefs. When you think of yourself as a poised public speaker, but you completely blank on your words during a presentation, your brain scrambles to make sense of this conflict. How could I, the poised speaker, do that? The brain fixates on the memory, trying to resolve this inconsistency, which just keeps it front and center in your mind. It's a threat to your identity, and your brain treats it with the utmost seriousness. Okay. So our brains are basically hardwired to torture us with our past blunders. That's great. But what can we do about it? Are we doomed to be haunted by that time we waved back at someone who was waving at us? Absolutely not. The first step is awareness, which you're doing right now by watching this. Understanding the why behind it, the amygdala, the spotlight effect, rumination, demystifies the process. It's not a personal failing, it's just brain mechanics. A powerful technique to combat this is reframing. Instead of viewing the memory through a lens of pure horror, try to find the humor in it. Laughter is an incredible tool. It diffuses the negative emotion and tells your amygdala, "Hey, stand down. This isn't a threat anymore. It's actually kind of funny." Think about it. Your most embarrassing stories are often your best stories. They're the ones that make your friends laugh the hardest. Sharing them can transform an isolating moment of shame into a shared moment of connection. When you own the story, it loses its power over you. Another strategy is mindfulness and self-compassion. When the memory pops up, don't try to violently push it away. That often just makes it stronger. Instead, acknowledge it. Say to yourself, there's that memory again. I remember feeling so embarrassed. Then, practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that everyone, literally every single person on this planet, has embarrassing moments. It's a universal part of the human experience. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend who told you a similar story. You wouldn't tell them they're a failure for life, right? You'd say, "Oh my gosh, that's rough, but it's okay." Give yourself that same grace. Finally, challenge the spotlight effect directly. The next time you feel that wave of embarrassment, consciously remind yourself that most people are not paying attention. They are the main character in their own movie, just as you are in yours. Their focus is on themselves. This logical check-in can help dial down the emotional intensity of the moment and prevent the memory from being encoded with such high-stakes drama. You can even test this yourself. Try to remember an embarrassing thing a friend did a week ago. It's probably pretty hard to recall, isn't it? That's because it wasn't a significant event for you. The same is true for others when you're the one in the spotlight. So the next time your brain decides to play its greatest hits of cringe, remember what's going on behind the scenes. It's your ancient survival instincts, your emotional brain, and a few cognitive biases all working together to try and protect you. But you're in the driver's seat. You can reframe the narrative, laugh at the absurdity, show yourself some compassion, and remind yourself that the spotlight is mostly imaginary. These memories don't have to be chains. They can be hilarious stories that connect you to others and remind you that you're perfectly, beautifully human. Thanks so much for hanging out and exploring the weird and wonderful workings of our minds with me today. If you found this helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Let me know in the comments your go-to strategy for handling embarrassing memories. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.